Fine.
Oh.
You're a running puppet. What are you running from, Brother Dan? Welcome to Tavern Talk. We are a full spoiler live talk show based on the epic fantasy series Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. My name is Ryan. Joining me, as always, is my brother Dan, Jansen Lashley Haynes, Beth Doman, and special returning guest Tom from Dragon Mount. Welcome, everybody.
Tom.
Hey.
So we have a special show today, a spicy topic. One of the more controversial relationships in the Wheel of Time is Mat and Tuon, and we're going to jump into it. We're going to deep dive that. I guess we should say that, yeah, there might be some topics of conversation that might be troublesome based on who Tuon is and how we love Mat. But, so we're going to talk about this with sensitivity, as always. But be warned, we are going to talk about some dark stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing to be scared of. Guys.
No.
All right.
There's some major keyboard clacking going on in the background. Just
I hear
FYI. Not sure who's clicky clacking.
Clickety clacks.
Not these felt fingers. Ooh, I got a dirty hand. Oh, I gotta wash that. Where's that finger? Where's that finger been?
Where's that hand been?
Jeez.
Is that's from when you were on the show on Monday, right? That's what that's from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, we got a little raucous.
Out thy damn spot.
Out I say, fine. Sorry, Lady Macbeth. It's one of my favorite speeches of all time in any play.
Keep going.
Yeah.
But then it's time to do it. No, I don't remember it anymore. It's a long time ago, but I love it. It's so good. It's so good. Talk about the descent into madness.
Mat and Tuon, rather, are one of the bolder decisions I think that Robert Jordan made. Tuon came from a very hard to like culture. She has very hard to like beliefs, and yet Mat is our favorite character of all time. And pairing these two things, in theory, according to the fandom, sure. And so pairing these two things is, I think, it's not an easy thing that he was trying to do here at all.
Yeah, I agree. Jansen and I were talking on the phone the other day. Like, we'll get into it. What is Robert Jordan kind of getting at with this arc? He kind of wedges them together through various prophecies and omens and coincidences. But yeah, like Tuon is an avid slaver. We see her in action several times, being horrifying. We have scenes of Mat witnessing her being horrifying, and yet, like, he just falls in love with her.
Am I correct that she is they are the only relationship that is prophesized?
No, because it depends on if you consider Min's viewings.
No. I mean something that says no. I'm not. No, viewing is in my head something different. All right, besides Min then. I think they're the only ones that are like truly destined to be based on shit that was written hundreds of years ago. Right?
Yeah, I agree. Because the first person we hear that even talks about them in prophecy is Gnome, I think, right? What is it? I don't know. Remember the exact language, but it's something about.
Yeah, you did, Jansen. Come on.
The fox that makes the ravens fly. And he grabs the moons right out of the sky, snatches the moons right out of the sky. I believe that is directly about Mat, obviously, and that's from Gnome. I think that's the first time we hear about them. Him and Tuon together. But consider this too. There's a lot of the prophecies that even we don't know. Because it's all pieced together from different pieces from you know, even from the Acidic cycle, which is the Shantian version of the Corinthian cycle. So there's a bunch of different, you know, pieces that we've heard, but I don't think we've ever heard the entire thing, right?
No.
Yeah.
The whole thing is bizarre to me, and it's Tavaran prophecy weird. It's not normal weird, it's Tavaran prophecy weird, where they understand that they are supposed to occur and be a couple. Mat is like, all right, trying to like get into her. He's like, yeah, I guess I'm supposed to marry you. This is, I'm not the marrying type, but I guess this is what it is. And I think Tuon was doing the same thing. It was like if Lucy and Charlie Brown, or not Lucy, Lucy Van Pelton and Charlie Brown, like were like, oh yeah, you guys are gonna get married, and they're like,
what prophecy was it? Like, I don't remember the prophecy that put them together specifically.
Noam said it to them while they were sitting in Valen Luca's and with the carnival or the menagerie. They were sitting inside playing stones, and Noam said to himself, "Oh my God, I just remembered this." And it's like courage is something that, with the man on high, with the fox that makes the ravens fly, courage is mine. The luck in his eye, he snatches the moons right out of the sky. Something like that.
Was this a foretelling? This is what the chat is saying, that there was a viewing or foretelling.
Yeah, there were foretellings. Like Tuon had a foretelling of it, and then there's what the snakes and foxes tell Mat.
And I'm telling you, no, I mean, it's weird that
I know what you're talking about, Jansen. You're talking when they're all sitting around playing stones, or one of those times, or they're trying to play fox. Maybe they're playing with Oliver's game.
Yeah, they're playing snakes and foxes.
Snakes and foxes, and then he Noel recites that thing. I know what you're talking about. I don't know when it happened.
Yeah,
but I do know what you're talking about.
Is that not the poem for the snakes and foxes game?
Okay. Huh. Hi, Kelly.
I don't remember, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, but it seems like they are dealing with a foretelling, at least based on the Aelfin and the Eilfin, right? Mat learns he's to marry the daughter of the Nine Moons, and that's that. He does not think that he really has any choice in the matter, and doesn't know that he's fulfilling all these things. He says, she's my wife, she's my wife, she's my flaming wife, goat kissing, butt munching wife. He also he bought her a cool horse, where they're like, geez, that's a pretty good courting gift. It's a razor. You know, all these things he just is inadvertently doing very well.
Yeah. And he knew that, I mean, like you said, they both knew that they were going to marry. They had heard from too many sources. Am I reading it right that that's the whole reason Mat kind of hung out in the purple wagon every night playing stones and shit? Because he's like, well, this is supposed to be my wife, so I may as well get to know this lady.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's how I read it, right, Tom?
Yeah, pretty much. Like he or at the very least, he wanted to find a reason to like her. That's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, we have some quotes, though, right?
Yeah. Actually, this is let's start with this one. I was just going through seeing which was relevant. All right, this is from Winter's Heart, Pink Ribbons. You fought us, she demanded. You have sworn the oaths? I swore, he muttered. For the other, I had no choice. So you would have, she muttered, circling him slowly. She continued her study, fingering the lace at his wrist, touching the black silk scarf tied around his neck, lifting the edge of his cloak to examine the embroidery. He endured it, refusing to shift his stance, glowering fit to match the Thailand light. He had bought horses without such a thorough examination. Next, she would want to take his teeth. The boy told you how he was injured, Nana said in a frosty tones of command. If you want him, then buy him and be done. The day has been long, and you should be in your bed. Tuon paused, examining the long signet ring on his finger. It had been carved as a tri-piece to show the carver's skill, a running fox and 2 ravens in flight, all surrounded by crescent moons, and he had bought it by chance, though he had come to like it. He wondered whether she wanted it. Straightening, she stared up to his face. Good advice, Anas, she said. How much for him, Tylan? If he is a favorite, name your price and I will double it. All right, so that's
a chance.
It's a good way to start a relationship.
Right. So he bought it by chance, and that's she's like, okay, and that's certainly triggered her creepy
omen brain.
Omen brain, correct, Ryan? Good phrase. Is this Tavern work, guys?
Well, I think it's Robert Jordan.
Wow.
That's
It's
I mean, it's like we want to analyze this too deeply. I don't want to do it too deeply, but it's been hammered, like we said before, in our brains, including Matt's, throughout the books, from the moment he goes through the first doorway in the Stone of Tears, that he is going to have a wife, and that it is going to be the daughter of the Nine. So he hears about it, and he talks about it. But, to talk about on a deeper level of Tuon and Mat, and how it is kind of an not annoying, but an uncomfortable relationship. And the word uncomfortable comes up a lot when we talk about the Seanchan, Tuon, these two everything. And there are 2 women in the Wheel of Time that terrify me. Tharava and Semerhag are both terrifying. They also make me feel uncomfortable, which are 2 different things. But with those 2, I also put Tuon on that level of 3 women that make me feel uncomfortable throughout the whole book. She makes me feel uncomfortable with the.
Is this because of cultural differences, or because of
her belief system and the way that she is the head of her people? And so, with that being said, and the Seanchan being the way they are, the way that they hold such accountability for all of the things that they do, she should also be held accountable for a lot of things. Being the Empress, being the person who she claims to be the nurturer of the Empire, may she live forever. But like Eganon / Lylin has said, the Empire is based on a lie. And it starts there with Tuon, who actually by the end of the books knows this to be true as well. So
with the Seanchan, what we're seeing is a very harsh mirror put right in front of their faces, right? In regards to the soul down. Tuon dismisses that pretty easily, though.
Deftly. She goes, she basically goes, well, I didn't choose it.
She's like, no, I also don't steal and I don't murder. So I have the option. These people are doing it and I choose not to. So I'm better. And I guess it's a handy way to do it, but fuck. Would Tuon, does she get the sickness? Does she, or does she go through the same stuff that like Egwene and Nynaeve goes through?
No.
Why not?
No, because that is brought on by people who naturally are
born with the spark.
Or with a spark. That doesn't happen to women who can learn to channel.
Yeah.
It only happens
who can learn to channel are identified as Sul'dam.
Yeah, there's sparkers and then there's learners.
Right.
Did they ever mention her knowing how to use compulsion?
Semerhag?
Yeah.
I'm sure she did. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, they all know how to use it.
Yeah,
The person that she is, would she use compulsion on Tuon, or would she prefer to have it be a challenge?
I don't think she'd use compulsion. She likes the inflicting the pain of knowing and seeing.
Totally.
I totally agree with that 100%.
That's a great question, though.
But compulsion also is harder to use on people that are more stronger of will and like are more intelligent. And since she's in such a visible, high-ranking place, she would probably be more apprehensive of using it on her as to like not play her hand, you know, so that people don't be like, oh shit, like something's wrong with Tuon. She's acting weird.
Yeah, I agree.
So we do have the quote here. Thank you, What a Holocaust. Quote, I remember now, he said, and then the fool began to recite, fortune rides like the sun on high with the fox that makes the ravens fly. Luck his soul, the lightning his eye. He snatches the moon from out the sky. The broken-nosed old man looked around as if he just realized anyone else is there. I've been trying to remember that. It's from the prophecies of the dragon.
It sounds like, and especially because they're playing it when they're playing Snakes and Foxes, it sounds like the Snakes and Foxes game. It apply like everything in the frickin' Wheel of Time with Robert Jordan. There's not much, very, very little applies one-to-one. Everything always like could have 5 different meanings and like kind of applies well to multiple things. Like this could easily apply to him rescuing Moiraine from the Tower of Genji as well, except for the 9 Moons part. But like the first half of it kind of applies to, it could apply to that too. It could apply to both. Like the first part could be him rescuing
his eye, yeah.
See, also, here's something else. In my mind, personally, for me to be comfortable with Mat, I like to believe in just like Tom just said, there's so many different meanings. I like to believe that him marrying Tuon was him giving up half the light of the world.
Oh, the old ball and chain, huh?
Well, just
no, I'm just kidding. Guys, I'm kidding. It's a joke.
Yeah.
I kid.
I know.
My wife.
You know, marrying somebody with that belief system that, you know, wholeheartedly believes that slavery is a must need for their empire to even exist. It for me, that's I don't think that if my wife was that person, that I believe that could that would be a deal breaker.
I mean, let's not forget the whole reason why Mat marries Tuon is because they tell him he's gonna die if she does not.
Yeah.
Honestly, let's talk about Mat's initial reaction for why he takes Tuon, right?
And he never wants to.
If you don't go to Ruidian, you will die. If you don't marry the daughter of the 9 Moons, you will die. Like seriously, he's compelled to find her. He becomes obsessed with finding her. He literally asks every woman he might have any kind of passing interest in. Have you ever heard of the daughter of the 9 Moons? Are you the daughter of the 9 Moons? I mean, it becomes an obsession for him. And so when he hears that, when she confronts him, when he is leaving Abu Dar and he's just freed Teslin and they're trying to get out, he finds out she's the daughter of the 9 Moons and he's like, oh fuck. I'm gonna take her. Exactly. This right here.
You want me to do it, right?
Yes, yeah. Sorry, I was muted. Go for it. Yeah.
All right. Oh, light, Egyanin said hoarsely, sinking to her knees. You madman! It's death by slow torture to lay hands on the daughter of the 9 Moons. The 2 Soldam gasped and knelt without hesitation, not only pulling the 2 Sedai down with them, but gripping the Adam right at the collar to force their faces to the floor. Mat grunted as though Tuon had just kicked him square in the belly. He felt as if she had. The daughter of the 9 Moons. The elfin had told him the truth, much as he hated knowing he would die and live again, if he had not already. He would give up half the light of the world to save the world. And he did not even want to think about that meant. He would marry. She is my wife, he said softly. Somebody made a choking sound. He thought it was Doman. What? Egyanin squeaked, her head whipping toward him so fast that her tail of hair swung around to slap her face. He would not have thought she could squeak. You cannot say that. You must not say that. Why not? He demanded. The elfin always gave true answers. Always. She's my wife. Your bloody daughter of the 9 Moons is my wife. Winter's Heart, chapter 31.
Wada Holocausty brings up a good point. I was actually going to point that out. Most of his asking about the Daughter of the Nine Moons prior to knowing what it was to avoid that.
Well, yeah,
Like,
I know, but
yeah.
he was still obsessed with her.
Oh yeah,
he was still
super
obsessed with finding
yeah.
her.
Yeah,
like
well, to avoid her though, because he didn't want
Matt
to marry
would
her. He
think-
didn't want.
No, you would think he would avoid her, but if it was somebody that he had a fancy for, he would have found a way to make it like it.
He tried.
Yeah,
mean,
like that's how he frames it the whole time. Is he doesn't want to find her.
But it's an obsession with finding her. It's still an obsession with finding her. To avoid her, maybe, but he still becomes obsessed with finding out who she is.
Yeah,
It's still an obsession.
no, I'm not saying it's not, but he doesn't want, like, I was more to the point of he doesn't want to ever really marry her. He just kind of assumes he's supposed to and has to because of the whole I might die thing if I don't. And like if they had told him, it's not specifically because it's Tuon or because of her character or really anything. It's because that's the person they told him. And then like when he went there, he just assumed that that's what was supposed to happen. And then he like Jansen was talking about earlier, he dedicates a large portion of his time after meeting her to trying to come to terms with like, this is the person I have to be with. So I might as well try to find a reason to enjoy it. And like, it just seems so forced and just icky on so many different levels. Like there's so many levels to why this is just, for me and for a lot of people, this is just a bad relationship.
Right. Well,
I'm sorry, but I think all of the romances of all of the main characters, with the exception of Fael and Perrin, is that.
It's
forced.
Works okay for me.
It's not, it's a forced thing. It's not, it's
I don't.
it's all cringe to me.
Yeah, because
I like Bale Doman. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, well, she said the main character. So in the sense of like,
yeah, I'm talking about
sort of
the
external
Emmonsfield folks.
Some sort of external force is kind of telling them they have to be together, i.e. like Min's viewings is like, Min is like, this is the person I'm going to marry.
Correct.
And then she also tells Elaine, this is the person you're going to marry. I guess the only person that kind of falls in love with him sans that whole prophecy thing is Avienda.
Well, she no. She gets, when she goes through the first rings, she knows everything.
Yeah, but prior to that, she already started liking him. Like she already has some sort of feelings for him prior to that.
Yeah,
and she didn't know that there was a prophecy telling her specifically that she's going to be with Rand. Where Min, the moment Min looked at Rand, she knew she was going to marry him because she saw her face around him. So,
well,
at least we didn't get that. At least we didn't get that original scene that he wrote with Min and Rand.
Oh yeah, shit, I forgot about that.
Wait, do tell.
It's in Origins, and the original scene with Min and Rand, the way it was written, was that they actually copulate in the stable.
All four of them?
No, Min and Rand in Bear Lawn, the first day he meets her.
Oh.
Just like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was the original writing. It's in Origins.
Origins, yeah.
Anyway,
Michael,
that was an early draft of Min and Rand's relationship.
I agree with you, DK Moon, and welcome Lifeline Fool and anyone else I didn't say hi to.
That's what I was kind of alluding to. DK.
I agree.
I totally also think that too.
Without any of that, Matt would have been dead.
For what?
From the Shanshin?
If he wouldn't have followed what they said, he would have died.
Oh yeah, if he wouldn't have followed her. But we're saying if the prophecy never happened.
Yeah. What did they say he would have done? He would have sidestepped fate and died. Drifting on the pattern.
Yeah, but if it wasn't not that if he subverted the prophecy, but if the prophecy wasn't a thing, like that prophecy, plot line never existed.
I agree.
So Beth, I want to steer this. So Tuon is not only the leader of the Shanshin, she is also a trainer of Damane. Yep. She is an active, loving trainer of Damane. She's really good at it.
It's so gross.
Ryan, good job.
Speaking of which, hey Tom
Jansen. Oh, who? Yeah,
go for it, Tom.
Oh, you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Your father trades horses, Tuon murmured. And what do you do, Toy? he glanced over his shoulder at the two women ghosting along 10 paces back. Setzel might not be close enough to hear, but if he kept his voice down and he decided to be honest, Besides the show was dead quiet. Oh, right. I'm sorry. I forgot where they were. I was like, the show was dead quiet in the darkness. She might hear, and she knew what he might be doing in Ebudar. I'm a gambler, he said. My father called himself a gambler, Tuon said softly. He died of a bad wager. And how were you supposed to find out what that meant? Another night walking along a row of animal cages, each one built to fill an entire wagon, he said. What do you do for fun, Tuon? Just because you enjoy it, aside from playing stones? He could almost feel Selusha bristling at his use of her name from 30 feet away. But Tuon did not seem to mind. He thought she did not. I train horses and damane, she said, peering into a cage that held a sleeping lion. The animal was only a large shadow lying on the straw behind thick bars. Does he really have a black mane? There are no lions with black manes in all of Shanshan. She trained damane for fun? Light. Horses? What kind of horses? It might be war horses if she trained bloody damane for fun.
For fun.
Yeah, it's gross. It's icky. It's very icky.
It's icky, but it's also, and I'm going to keep stressing this, all of us, even you two cloth people, we live in this world. They live in Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time.
Yeah, but slavery's bad wherever they are.
Slavery is known to be bad everywhere.
But they grew up in a culture that was written where they knew that their whole lives, thanks to both there. And it's wrong. But these are the people these are the people that we're dealing with, and this is what they do. And they were needed to win the last battle.
Let's talk about just how wrong it is. Because here, if we want to read this, Beth, can you read this for us?
Sure. Tiny Mylan, shorter even than Tuon herself. Mylan was Tuon's special pride among the six. Many had thought it odd when Tuon tested for Sul'dam on reaching adulthood, though none could gainsay her then, except her mother, who had allowed it by remaining silent. Actually, becoming a Sul'dam was unthinkable, of course, but she found as much enjoyment in training damane as in training horses, and she was as good at one as the other. Mylan was the proof of that. The pale little damane had been half dead with shock and fear, refusing to eat or drink when Tuon bought her on the docks at Shan Kafar. The Sul'dam had despaired, saying she would not live long, but now Mylan smiled up at Tuon and leaned forward to kiss her hand before she even reached to stroke the damane's dark hair. Once skin and bone, she had become a trifle plump. Instead of rebuking her, Katrona, who held her leash, let a smile crease her usually stern black face and murmured that Mylan was a perfect damane. It was true. No one would believe now that once she had called herself Aes Sedai.
Eesh. 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 So she's
okay. So I agree with Jansen, right? And let's like take our moral relativism glasses off for a second. Just for a second, okay? My podcast, we actually talked about this today. When we were doing our recording, we were talking about fourth age channeling and stuff like that. And we were talking about how the Shanshan, what might change in Shanshan. And one of the things that you have to remember is that becoming damane was a matter of fact for Shanshan people. The minute you gave birth to a daughter in Shanshan, you knew that eventually they were going to be tested, and eventually they might be taken away from you and no longer be considered people. They would be considered property. And a girl is going to grow up knowing those things. The thing that makes this right here so hard to swallow is that this was a person who used to have full autonomy, who used to have power in itself from being an Aes Sedai, all of a sudden not being willful, not being bucking against her captors, but becoming, through brainwashing and mental manipulation, becoming what was expected of a natural born Shanshan to behave. And I think that's what makes it so horrifying in Mylan's case, because it's so drastic. It's so drastic. She's not kicking and screaming. We don't see her like Teslin. We don't see her like Elida, even when Elida is captured. You know what I mean? We see her willfully and gleefully aiding her keepers.
And they thought she may die, which appears to be a common thing.
I think it was a common thing with Westland women that were captured. I don't think it's a common thing for Shanshan women, because they were raised to expect that it could happen. But that is their lot in life.
All I would, if you remember, it was called Becoming Heart Friends or something like that.
What was?
They had a remedy for disrespondent demone, and it was called, I remember, I think it was Bethaman's POV. They said, we're going to put her in the Shanshan demone so they can become heart friends. And once that happened, then they were always good. So something happened with them. There's some kind of bonding that they were able to do with each other.
That was a like a reference to like a relationship, like a sexual relationship, but kind of like pillow friends.
Yeah.
But that's just because, oh well, when at least they have some sort of romantic relationship, they're less combative in their subjugated state. The only I mean, I agree with what you're saying, Beth, on like some levels, but the only thing that I would say is we never see that. Like, the only demone we ever see that are from the Shanshan are ones that have been like, first of all, they're not. Yeah, they're all broken already.
Yeah,
we never see women going into the test and we never see like from the perspective of a mother bringing her daughter there. Is she? Are there probably people, like especially people that are of like higher crust, that like think of it as like their duty to serve the empire and stuff like that?
We do get one POV about that. Remember the person who invented the collar? We heard about her and how she screamed for 2 weeks
when she was when the collar was put on her. So like, I'm sure there are people that probably look to it like that, but once the people kind of realize, I'm sure once the girls are told what it's supposed to be, but I doubt they realize that they're going to be tortured and forced to do things that they don't want to do. Like when someone says, I don't want to do something.
I agree.
Yeah. So
but once they're chained, it's much, you know what I mean? But like, so I don't think they go into it necessarily kicking and screaming like a woman who was free the entire time. All of a sudden, having a chain put on her neck. And
I definitely understand fully exactly what it means for it to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
no, and I'm not saying it's any less horrifying by any means, right? Because it's not.
I know what you're saying.
But it reminds me of so there's a movie that was based on a book, 12 Years a Slave.
I saw that,
Fantastic movie. I read the book after I watched the movie because I was like, surely some of this stuff is exaggerated, right? Most of it was not. There were some minor changes made for the movie, but for the most part, it was pretty horrific. But one of the anecdotal things that the biography covered is the first slave, the first owner, I hate to use that word, but you know what I mean. The first person who enslaved him was a Baptist minister. It's the person who gave him the violin. And that character was played by Benedict Cumberbatch in the movie. In the autobiography, and I think his name was Solomon Northup. Is that what his name was? Solomon was his first name.
All these names do sound like Southern slavers.
But no, Solomon was the slave, was the person who was enslaved.
Chiwetel was
yes.
Solomon, yeah.
But anyway, he in the biography, he said that he was a kind man but he was a product of his upbringing. And
so was the slave too.
And it's disgusting to think
know,
about that.
Right.
Yes.
Well, we only know what we know, right? And so let me lead this into I have a couple of hot questions for you guys. How, knowing what the Shanshan know, how were they wrong in their beliefs? They treated everyone they conquered well. They just said these things like most. Well, hold on, whoa. Most of what the Randland itself would be fine if there was a collar they could put on mail channelers, right? Before, if instead of having to still them, if we could just collar them, we would, and that would have solved all kinds of problems, right? If they had been able to recreate male Adam, I think that's what the Red Aja would do. And Ryan, you're muted, but they would be collaring these and having these male things because it was in their they were protecting themselves. And so based on the ignorance that the Shanshan come to the table with, why are they wrong in doing what they're doing?
Well, I personally think that the first people who originally made the Idam, maybe even Lothair and everyone else who were in court then, I think they knew that Damani could learn. I mean, that Sultan could learn. I think they knew. I think they had to.
Oh, that's interesting. So the Adam wouldn't necessarily cure the Mat. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because
originally, back in the Age of Legends, they found everybody who can. They found everybody. And, if the Damani or whoever invented the collar knew how to make Terangriel and all those things, she had to have the knowledge of that as well. I just think it got lost. But I think that they knew originally. They had to.
And to that point, and also to this, we live in the Randland is a very classist society. It's fine to have servants. It's fine to have. Elaine is throwing people in classes all the time. Where are you? Are you a servant? Are you a merchant? Are you a banker? Are you noble? Like that sort of stuff happens everywhere. So. Yeah. Free will doesn't really happen with some of this stuff. I'm sure. The only pushback I would put on that is that that's not true for every culture in the Wheel of Time. The Aiel don't really have a class-like hierarchy, especially not based on wealth. They put no stock in wealth. No. The Aiel are like their societal hierarchy is much more based on what it was in the Age of Legends, where it's more like you're more valuable. I don't want to say valuable as a person, but you're regarded higher as a person, the more you can bring to your people. So like,
yeah, but the Aiel are the biggest hypocrites in the entire book.
Well, everyone's a hypocrite, but what I'm saying is like blacksmiths are viewed as very high in like the social hierarchy because of what they can do for the people. Like they're the only ones that can make tools and weapons, so like they're regarded higher than someone who's a shepherd. But in the sense of like society, no one is better than someone else, where the rest of that's that type of view is a very non-Western view, where everything else is a Western view. Every other country has some sort of Western view on societal cultures, except for the few that are more Asian in their cultural hierarchies, which are really mainly just the borderlands.
Well, Tom, that touches on what Beth was talking about as far as the mom knowing that the daughter is going to this position. Is it slavery for that society?
Yes, it's still slavery. They have no autonomy. They have no rights. No, they have a caste system within a slave culture itself. So there is a caste system within slavery.
Okay.
and you can rise up in different things, but a slave is a slave is a slave at the end of the day. You might be a slave with power, but you could be Joseph.
I'm not
to Pharaoh, right?
Not only the thing that makes the thing that makes the Shanshin just kind of like irrevocably bad in all senses for this isn't just the fact we're looking at it wrong when we just say that they kept the Damani as slaves, because they didn't. They didn't just keep the Damani as slaves. They view them as not human.
Not human.
Yeah, like they view them as animals, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
they do also keep slaves though. That's the other thing. Like they have Dakavale, which means literally means one who is owned. So like,
I think
they're Doman.
I think you can look at Shanshin society very similar to like ancient Egyptian society. When you think about the ancient in Exodus when Joseph, right, was sold by his brothers into slavery, and he rose to a prominent position in the house of Pharaoh. He was still a slave.
Wait a sec. You're talking
Joseph.
Moses.
Joseph, no. Joseph as well. Joseph it rose to prominent. Yes, Moses did too before he separated from Pharaoh, but Joseph was. Have you never seen Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat?
That's if you take.
But it's also based. But it's also in the Bible.
Yeah, that's if you take the biblical scripture as historical.
Right. What I'm saying, I'm saying is, Shanshin society is a lot similar to ancient Egyptian society, where people who were slaves could rise up in power, but they're still slaves. They can still have the ear of very important people, and anyway, but it's a caste system.
I would less say that the slaves themselves rise up in power than the slaves are regarded differently based on who owns them.
Yes, I agree with that.
But you had slaves that were money lenders. You had slaves that ran businesses. You had slaves that had positions of power. Yeah. They were not necessarily by who owned them, but by what they were, what they had the ability to do, and because they were good mathematicians, they might be like, who was the slave who ran the fork root mill? That was still a slave.
Yes, but you're not gonna like the thing is that like the person who owned that slave, like if they were a farmer, they learned one of them was good at math, they may go to a banker and be like, hey, this one's good at math, you take this one, give me money. But like, you're never going to be like, have somebody that owns a slave and then just because that slave is good at something, develop a business around that slave. Like that's not
what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is slaves can achieve a social standing is what I'm saying.
True.
That's the only reason why I say like, it's a little separate, because like to think of it in this sense, like Selusha had standing kind of over a lot of people because she was the whatever Sophia or Sophie, whatever they whatever old tongue word you want to that they used for it.
No, that was Anna Samarad.
She goes through like 3 different titles, but because she was her kind of guardian or truth speaker, but she also kind of was like her bodyguard when she was a kid.
Her shadow.
Tuon, it gave her a higher standing than someone of the same position, but for a lesser noble. Like if it was a lesser person of the blood, but having the same title as Selusha would still be higher because she's that Tuon.
But you also have people that are generationally born into their slavery, like the Seekers for Truth are slaves.
Yeah.
They're generation and
pretty much everyone is a
right. But what I'm saying is that there is a social standing. There's a caste system within the slave system of
slavery. Is not unknown in Randland for sure. People being indentured or owned by others is a part of society here.
Not in Randland.
Yes,
that's true. But in places like Tyr, who is a Mother Gaia that says, mudfish don't hang out with Silverside. It's like there's in different cultures, there's people live certain ways and live differently in other ways, even if they're commoners.
Yeah.
The ones here can get killed on a whim before rain gets there.
Yes.
Things like that. And but ones in Andor cannot.
Yeah, there's no slavery in the Westlands whatsoever. Like every culture in the Westlands views slavery.
The IO definitely the IO takes slaves all the time. They sell people to Shara all the time. And they take the Gaishan when they take Wetlander Gaishan.
They don't take. Yeah, but see, that's the thing. They don't take Wetlander Gaishan.
They sell people to Shara. They sell.
Hold on. I know they do. I know they do, but the only people that they do that to are the Kyrian who come after that. No, not anyone. The Kyrian that go into the Aiel Waste after they've broken the water oath. Other people they usually just chase out. They talk about how some people come running out of the waste sunburnt and naked and things like that. But they don't do that to anyone that goes into the waste. They do it specifically to Kyrian. Only Kyrian people that go into the waste. But the closest thing that comes to anything that's like that in the Westlands, which is what I was going to say in the beginning, was Tyr. Every other place there isn't as hard and a fast of a class system. It's more just, most people don't aspire to try to become anything like higher than their position, but there's nothing holding people back from doing that. Like if Perrin went to Camelin, and there was no everything that was going on, he could join, whatever he wanted. He could do whatever he wanted, despite, where he came from and his position, his financial position, his family's position. The only country that probably would look down on him for that would be Tyr.
Okay, but so the idea that the Shido only choose the Kyrian.
That's not the Shido. The Shido are an amalgamation. They are not the standard bearers for Aiel society.
Yeah, and even the Shido didn't take Wetlander Gaishan until after they broke all of the oaths and went into the.
And that was 100% Savannah, not anybody else but Savannah and her leadership.
Yeah, she likes taking them more because they were easier to break and turn into because every Aiel could fight essentially, where most of the Wetlanders that they took were soft and easy to break. So that's why
they already knew the comforts of Wetlander homes, so they would be easy. They would easily be able to fill
those roles.
Role, right?
Yeah, that was. She specifically says that at some point.
The waste before that, so either the Aiel missed some people getting all the way to Roydion, or they let a few Wetlanders in because there were a couple books.
Yeah, they used to let Wetlanders in all the time. They traded with people. Gleemen were openly, like Tom talks about how Gleemen were openly allowed to travel the waste. The Tinkers are openly allowed to travel the waste in the sense of the Aiel avoid them at all costs whenever they go there. So there are Wetlanders often going in and out of the waste.
But not many.
But that's not we're getting off topic from the Mat and Tuon.
Well, yeah, actually, this might be a good. Oh, well, let's get the spoiler thing off. All right, Jansen, you want to take a stab at this one?
He stalked around. Sorry, I don't have any glasses on.
All right,
he stalked around the innocuous corner at the front of the stairs and almost walked into Tuon. The mighty kennels are forbidden to men, she said. Peering up at him coldly through her veil, you could be punished just for entering. I was looking for a windfinder, High Lady, he said hastily, making a leg and thinking as fast as he ever had in his life. She did me a favor once, and I thought she might like something from the kitchen. Some pastries, I like. I didn't see her, though. I suppose she wasn't caught when he trailed off, staring. The stern judicial mask the girl always wore for a face had melted into a smile. She really was beautiful. That is very kind of you, she said. It's good to know that you are kind to Damani, but you must be careful. There are men who actually take Damani to their beds. Her full mouth twisted in disgust. You would not want anyone to think you perverted. That severe expression settled on her face again. All prisoners would be executed immediately. Thank you for the warning, High Lady, he said, a little unsteadily. What kind of man wanted to bet a woman who was on a leash.
Ouch.
That's perverted. That's kinky.
I know
Ow.
some men. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as it's consensual, it's
Yeah.
okay.
I was gonna say I won't
As
kink shame
long
if
as
it's
it's
consent.
As long as it's
Like, I
consensual.
have to believe that Robert Jordan left out a scene in his head that had Tylen leashing Matt to a bedpost.
Oh God, don't even go there.
I have to do that.
All right, so
Matt tied him up with his scarf once, didn't she?
Just several
Yep.
times, most
Yeah.
nights,
and
and held
so
him at knife point.
I do not have the exact quote, but there is also a scene where in help me out, Tuon like suddenly like surprises some Aes Sedai, puts the collars on them,
I know which scene you're talking about. Yeah.
threatens the shit out of them, gives them pleasure,
Yeah.
gives them pain, and Matt's just standing there like
He's like, that's
literally
a hot
getting
pepper.
turned on by this. Like, wow, look at
It's not that he's getting turned on. It's worse. So I remember the scene that you're talking about. It's either, I think it might be in Gathering Storm,
No.
or maybe
It's,
Towers of Midnight.
Knife of Dreams.
Is it Knife of Dreams too? Okay.
Yeah.
So they're in one of the wagons, and two Aes Sedai burst in thinking they're gonna save the Damane that are there, because I think they were also former Aes Sedai.
Mattering.
Yeah, and when she collars the two Aes Sedai, she feels their emotions and stuff, and she gets excited at the fact that she gets to like train new Damane. Like that's what she's thinking. Like you see her POV, and she's excited that she gets to break these new Damane and train them, and she's smiling. And Mat thinks to himself, "Oh God," she's like I don't remember the exact words, but it was something along the lines of like she's never looked more beautiful than she does right now.
Are you
and,
talking
like-
about Teslin and
Yeah,
Jay,
Tesla
the
and somebody
green
else.
warder with the J, or the green Aes Sedai with the J name?
Yeah.
Jolene and
Never seen
Teslin,
Yeah.
Rena and
And it
Seta.
was just
Yeah,
that was the scene that really made me just like stop liking Matt's character a lot, because it never really crossed
the
his
thing, though.
mind
Can you guys
that
imagine
like
something? Imagine if Matt Coffin was a real person. In
was
real
a
life.
what?
A
Oh,
real person in real life, and did all the things that Matt Coffin, as far as walking into bars, pinching girls in the ass, sleeping around, like doesn't
Well,
give a
yeah.
shit.
Well, it's a different
Most
time and
people
place.
would not like Matt Coffin.
So
No.
are you talking like in modern day, like 2024?
Just
Because
think
maybe in the 80s.
The point that I was trying to get at is that Robert Jordan, he puts this in so many people's POV, from Perrin to Elaine to Tuon, that Matt, you get that smile when you see him, but then you get that, God damn it, it's this dude. You know, like you get both feelings when you see Matt. Like you're happy, but you're also pissed off because he annoys the shit out of you. And
Well, let me ask you then. Let's pretend that the prophecy was attached to either Perrin or Rand. Let's say it was Rand. One of Rand's 3 wives was Tuon. Would he have handled her better or worse than Matt?
better.
I don't think, I think the book would have ended with Rand and Tuon. I mean, with Rand and Tuon fighting to the death. I think that's what would have happened instead of Rand's, doing what he did in.
He would have
Shady.
got
So
a third wound that wouldn't heal, right?
Yeah.
So basically, you're saying it would be very much like, oh my God, what is the name of that movie that Christopher Lambert starred in? There could be only one. Highlander, yes, thank you, Highlander.
Yeah, no,
There could be only one.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be like that.
It would be less because of the other two women and more because neither of them are changing their views. We saw that happen with their interaction. Like Rand is not going to make Tuon change her views on things, and Rand is not going to change his views on things. And I don't think they would have ever worked. It would have been a bad story to put those two characters as they are right now together.
I think that Rand, his essence would eventually beat Tuon. Tuon had to struggle.
You're talking like Tavarin, his Tavarin nature.
Yeah, I think that, dude, Rand, although I've been saying this recently, Randolph Thor is the most terrifying individual in these entire books because of so many reasons. I wouldn't want to be within 100 miles of someone like ever. I wouldn't want to even be. I wouldn't want to know about. I wouldn't want to be anywhere close to this guy. And the waves of just power coming off of this man, and how hard it was in two of the biggest moments of her life. She had to use every single bit of strength to fight Rand. I don't think she could do that 24 hours a day. I think if she was around Rand, eventually she would just crumble and
yeah, he would have tamed her. Yeah.
I wouldn't put it like that, but
let's not use that word, please.
I wouldn't put it like that.
As far as
he would have colored her.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. But it just wouldn't work in the same sense of the way things work, like of the way things ended up working out. Like they would have to change the way the entirety of the Shanshin hierarchy works. And like like Tuon would be the empress and Rand, but Rand, like that wouldn't work with Rand doing completely changing Tuon's character and her views on everything. Like they wouldn't want her to be the empress anymore.
Perrin would have killed her.
What?
Perrin would have killed her.
If Mat was with her?
If Perrin would have been stuck with Tuon, he would have killed her.
Well, Perrin would. We were talking about Rand, though. I wasn't.
Yeah, no.
All right, let's shift.
Yeah.
Let's say if instead of the Falcon, it was a Raven.
Perrin would never have gone with her ever. Perrin has too strong a sense of justice. He would never have been with her.
No.
He would die. That's what it would. Like the prophecy would be like, if you don't marry her, you're gonna die. And he'd be like, well, looks like I'm dead.
You're right. I agree.
Perrin has a don't ask, don't tell kind of policy with Fael. Fael does all kinds of nefarious shit that Perrin wouldn't necessarily sanction. It's
not necessarily nefarious. She spies. That's not the same thing.
She kills people without telling her.
Yeah.
But because he trusts.
There's always a reason.
He kills people.
But he trusts. He trusts her moral character enough that the people that she's deciding like that has to happen to deserves it. But she also, I don't really think that he thinks that she just out and out kills people for no reason. It's like, oh, that person must have been plotting to murder us or somebody or whatever. It's not like she's just like, you know what, I want to kill that person over there. And then Perrin's like, yeah, you know what, that's cool.
What did Massima have a distinct plot that she foiled by killing him, or was he just? He was running away, or wasn't he? He was
Massima.
Yeah, or Massima.
Do you know who that character is and the things that he did in the book? Like,
well, but I mean, for Fael to hunt him down and kind of kill him, I don't know.
Yeah,
man.
he's horrible, and like leaving him alive is just is a wrench in anything that could possibly happen. Like,
sure, it's inconvenient, but anyway.
It's a lot different than inconvenient than like literally rampaging over entire countries and killing anyone who disagrees with you.
So Perrin would have straight out killed.
I think if the fact that Fael brought all of Perrin's subordinates in on it without telling him, as if they were, knowing things that he doesn't know and quote unquote protecting their lord, I think that's a slippery slope, because once you're going to do it again.
It's a reoccurring thing. I mean, that's what Nynaeve does with Lan. That's what it's a reoccurring.
A lot of people do things for other people for their own good because they know that what they think is better for them than the other person, and that ain't true.
Well, in the
rarely.
Book,
I mean, unless we're talking about intermittent fasting, I can go on and on about intermittent fasting.
That person is under the age of 18 now.
You look grim, man.
But also a large problem with thinking of it in the terms of like deciding, like, there is a real evil in the world. Like it's not just like being against somebody. Like, oh, they're against me. There is actual evil in the Dark One it's not ambiguous evil. It's not because they think a different way than we do. It's actual, factual, real reality. Anti-life evil.
Totally. But Massima was not a dark friend and was under compulsion and could have conceivably been healed.
None of them. A lot of them don't know that. That's. I mean, in that case, everyone is a victim of their own upbringing and and
Amen.
But everyone didn't have somebody
was
else.
assassinated. Massimo was the tragic messiah that got killed by the power. I mean,
Are you?
he's
What are you talking? He's MLK now.
he's MLK.
He was
Stop
he
it.
was the self-proclaimed prophet of the dragon.
He was also duped by Grindo.
Fael put the F in the FBI.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was duped as well. He didn't. I mean, he necessarily.
He was easy to dupe. Like,
Yeah.
he already believed it. Galena didn't dupe him so much as aim him.
Galena did a lot.
Shit,
We gotta have a show.
Not Galena, Grendel.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, shit. I was like, yeah,
She
Galena
didn't so
got
much
to him
dupe
too.
as aim him. She kind of aimed him in a direction.
Well, I
But
mean, I
his-
know, but
his
remember her
craziness was
POV
gonna
was
be-
like that idiot. She said to him right before Shadar Heron got there. She said that idiot prophet in that stupid white cloak.
Yeah.
Come on, we're there.
But as they said, that could be a panel for another time. Back to Matt and Tuon.
Back to
All right,
Um,
let's. I got another quote for everybody.
Who hasn't read yet, Ryan?
Everyone's gone through. I'll start. All right, so this is from Knife of Dreams.
You want to do it in a round where you start and I'll just like.
No. No. Yeah, we already are famously talking over each other all show. So
All right, go ahead.
why? Let's not schedule that in.
No, let's make it. It's an actual art form.
All right.
Go.
Beware the fox that makes the ravens fly, for he will marry you and carry you away. Beware the man who remembers Hawkwing's face, for he will marry you and set you free. Beware the man of the red hand, for him you will marry and none other. She stared at him, but he seemed serious. He's tied to the pattern? That was how the word would translate. What is that supposed to mean? The old man's blue eyes widened in astonishment. You don't know? But it said Arthur Hawkwing was the strongest Taveran anyone had ever seen. Perhaps the strongest Randall Thor. I've had thought you, of all people, would. Well, if you don't, you don't. Taveran, ridiculous. These people and their endless superstitions. A small brown bird, surely a finch, flew out of a tall oak and circled Wintershins 3 times above Toy's head before flying on. She had found her omen. Stay close to Toy. Not that she had any intentions of doing otherwise. She had given a word, playing the game as it had been played, and she had never broken her word in her life.
Ryan,
Now-
when you typed Winter
do you know-
Shins, did it have a red line underneath it?
Do you know what Wintershins means? It means counterclockwise.
Winter
No, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Did it have a red line? Or did
Red line.
I read it like it was the first time I've ever seen that word. Like a winter shit. All right, so now we can line up this conversation. I have one question for everyone. Why does Matt need to marry Tuon?
Because it says so in prophecy and plot device. That's why.
But to what end?
He doesn't. It's really just.
It was the only way he was
To
going to be
what
put,
end?
It was the only way he was going to be put in a position where he could become Marshal General Khan.
Honestly, like, I think Robert Jordan thought of the idea of the Shanchin, and he needed to tie them to the main characters, and doing it through Matt was probably the easiest. And then he thought it was interesting to use Tuon as that tie-in and making them married. There isn't a real strong need in any sense of the story for that to have happened. Like, there is nothing gained by him marrying Tuon that it had to happen that way. Like, it could have easily been he befriended a male ruler of the Shanchin, or just was friends with Tuon or knew her and developed a relationship with her that was platonic and had a similar outcome. Like, their marriage does nothing there.
I've got another way to look at this.
Oh, wait, well, I bet.
Within what I'm saying is, in the main sequence books, their marriage does really nothing, but it was done to build into the eventual Outrigger novel that they were supposed to write.
Yeah, besides Matt, like, knowing Rand, right? I mean, she knew that Matt knew Rand, when they got together.
Beth, you're next.
Right?
All right, I want to hear from Beth.
Yeah.
Shanchan is steeped in ceremony. There's no way other members of the High Blood would have followed Mat into battle if he was not the Prince of the Ravens. 100% no, he could have shown as much battle prowess as anything, but there's no way that Tuon would have gone with the plan that he came up with to pretend that they were fighting, to pretend that he was done with her, to do that master foil that they did, that turned the tides of the Battle of La. Even if that is the only reason. Not only that, but you have to think about the fact that Mat is the exact polar opposite of Tuon. Tuon is order, Mat is chaos. Tuon is she's that last quote that you read.
No. I'm less inclined to think Mat's chaotic. People view him as chaotic, and people frame him as chaotic, but he's not really that chaotic.
He's unpredictable.
Ryan,
Okay.
Wait, this last line though, just to your point though, they both have this quality to them where their word is their bond, and that
correct.
And that's unique to them, I think, and that's one of the things that like several times she's like, oh, in another passage she's like, we'll see how strong what your word means to you, Toy, and she's key, and like he demonstrates that I think that's one of the ways that they gain a huge respect for each other.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Beth. Like, but that's still just plot device. Like, you could have written a different way.
But also think about just real quick, Jansen, just two small issues where Mat was present. Where if Mat hadn't been present, it would have gone very differently. Number one, when Mat was with Tuon's court in the embassy with Egwene, and Egwene sees Mat there, that would have gone very differently with the Shanchan meeting. And then right after his magical night with Tuon in the garden, when Rand makes the other appearance, when Rand comes and he kneels before the crystal throne.
I mean, she was in a good mood.
Mat was also there for levity, and because he knew Rand. I mean, I think that's the relationship that Mat had with the other members of the Emmonsfield Five intrinsically connected his connection to Tuon. They didn't smooth over because Tuon is Tuon and Shanchan is Shanchan, but.
I got another way to look at this, by the way, guys. So we've been talking for a long time about what Mat needs, for all these things. Like, does Mat need to marry Tuon? Does Mat need this? Does Perrin need to marry Fael? Does Perrin need this? Does Rand need to marry, or does Rand need this? Does Rand need this? But what we're forgetting is that we're talking about three Ta'veren. They don't need anything. The entire world needs them. So we talk about the prophecies and we talk about Tuon, and it says this is one of the prophecies that they say that we don't even give much latitude to, and it says he will set you free. He will set you free. So what are the things that Tuon needs to be set free from? Her empire needs to be set free from the fact that they do slavery.
Yeah.
Or she needs to be set free from one of the Forsaken. That is true. She's there as well. But of course, Mat doesn't need Tuon. She needs him.
I agree.
They all
I totally agree. And I've talked about this before, how like the pattern knows what it needs to balance itself out. So it sets things up to happen in a way that fixes the things that it needs to fix when things need to be fixed. So like it knew that it needed this to happen at this time, so it put Mat at this spot to meet Tuon, to go into the twisted doorway, to hear the daughter of the night. Like, but again, that's still plot device. Like it's
you're right. And she even says to Galgan,
he could have done it in another way without making it them being married. It's just that's what he chose to write.
She says it, Tuon says it point to Galgan. He is what we needed. He is what the pattern has given us.
Yeah.
And
so
so
the my favorite thing is the pattern kind of has its own goals and thought process that it doesn't care about the people that and what their wants and needs are. It just cares about fixing whatever it, however it functions, whether it's rebalance or or fixing the things that the Dark One is trying to do to it.
Right. And I think part of that is the fact that Mat had no idea what he was doing when he said, she's my wife, she's my wife, she's my wife. If he had known this little glitch in their weird processes, that word would have never come out of his face.
I don't. What do you mean? He knew he had to marry her.
He didn't know that about the ritual, talking about if you say it 3 times publicly, then
right. He would have. I think he would have held that card. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, he would have used it. He would have.
Said, "I'll do it when I have to, when my life is on it." You know.
He may have said it once,
just like she did,
and then looked at her.
Which is exactly what she did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, and this is a thank you, Wada Holocausty, for this. He gave us this interview quote.
Yeah. Real big thanks, Wada Holocausty.
All right. So,
yeah, I love that.
So.
Oh my God! It was on December 23rd, my birthday.
Ooh.
Brother Dan, isn't that weird? Actually, I just noticed
this. Oh my God.
Ben P. Indike. I used to know a Benjamin Indike, little kid in our neighborhood. Dan, that's crazy. What if it's him? Anyways, he asks, how do you approach your characters? For example, Tuon, a delightful tease to her would-be lover Mat, and Robert Jordan says, when I write from someone's point of view, I try to really get inside that person's skin, and they become my favorite character. But I must say I like Tuon even when I'm writing from other points of view. She's an intelligent, capable woman who has grown up in a competitive and highly deadly atmosphere. She and her siblings must compete to prove their worth. The winner will be the heir to the throne. She is short, slender, and wishes she had more bosom and height. She thinks, yeah, talk about right what you know. So she thinks she has no presence and must make up for it by her skill.
I like how he has to put bosom into even just into an interview talking about
Russ Meyer.
It's yeah. So yeah. It's his language.
I'm surprised he didn't bring up spanking too. No,
I think bosom's his love language. But he to that end though, like I really kind of I like Tuon a lot. I think there's a lot
I like her too
about
she's a great
her
character.
that she's a complicated character. And I think Mat really in the end falls in love with her. And I think like if you read it, and one of the things is I have a lot more quotes. I'll spare us all because we have running out of time. But like so many of the are just very subtle moments where Mat finds appreciation for her, and then Tuon finds appreciation for Mat, and it slowly builds up. Which is literally the complaint that everyone has about Robert Jordan's writings of relationships is that it's just like, oh, you like me, I like you, boom. Like this is a true relationship that builds, and it's become my favorite relationship aside from the problematic stuff.
No, my relationship will always be Andro and Pavaro, but
they're definitely
they crafted that relationship. I thought was great.
Yeah. And the only
but that's Brandon.
outside of the problematic nature of the Shanchin and all that stuff, their relationship kind of all starts because of an arrangement. They're essentially like an arranged marriage.
Yeah.
And then they don't I wouldn't say they fall in love with each other other than they kind of make the best of a bad situation. I mean, they do learn to like each other. I mean, they're in close proximity so long and they have these they develop romantic feelings, but I feel like that's not because of any kind of something outside of other than the fact that they were put there purposefully without their choice. But I mean, again, were written like that on purpose. So it's
do you believe Tuon loves Mat
in her way?
So what is, but I know. So yeah, like, do you believe Mat loves Tuon?
Yes. I mean, I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. So like, I'm not sure anyone really has a deep love. But the word love is weird. Like, it just depends on the person. Like, for instance, Perrin, the reason why Perrin isn't the Dragon Reborn is because he would let the world burn for Fail. A lot of people would say that that's love. Like, there's a lot of poems and music written to the fact that, you love this other person regardless of anything you'd let anything
doesn't
happen.
love him. She says, like Matt says, "Do you love me?" And she says, "Love. Perhaps one day we will come to love each other, Matrim Cawthon, but Matrim.
Yeah, that's true. She does say that.
I love you. I married you because of the empire, because of the omens. So
because of the omens, the prophecies, the need of the empire, not for love.
She says that. So
I gotta say, one of the more endearing
definitely looks at other women too. So
yeah, I'm not sure Tuon is capable of actual love.
Yeah, and I don't think Tuon ever really loved anybody in her entire life, including her mother.
I don't think she can.
Right,
she
that actually is kind of one of the more endearing aspects of Mat to me, in that I don't understand this. If someone called me toy and would dismiss me and do all these things, I'm not the type of person that would pursue. I read the room, man. I'm not gonna. You don't like me. You don't like me. Fine. We're done. Like, so for him to be consistent and charming. I mean, he kept bringing her gifts, even though she just gave them away and stuff. It was his persistence, his tenacity is something I could not fathom in a relationship.
He's courting her.
Yes.
Yeah. In the only way he knows how.
Right, but she has no interest,
But that's not true.
Well,
it's not true.
She can't show her interest in the same way that he expects.
Exactly.
She shows her interest in the way that she knows how. Like,
he's
remember the same way he would court.
She started following him even in the Terrace and Palace.
Yeah, he's courting her in the same way he would court anyone from the Two Rivers, but she's not anyone from the Two Rivers. So she can't reply in the same way.
She's condescending and mean, and I don't like condescending and mean. I just couldn't deal with that.
Absolutely.
Talk down to me like that.
That's personal.
She's like, oh, maybe I'll have you be my stable boy. I'm like, fuck.
If there was a woman, say, for one of you guys, or a man for you, Beth, in I don't know, Kazakhstan, and you don't know how to speak anything at all, and you've never been there, but you're gonna marry this guy, or you're gonna marry this woman.
I don't even need like an example like that. Like, for instance, I don't know how prevalent this is in every state, but being from New York, casually insulting and teasing each other is a normal thing.
Oh yeah, I lived in
casual insults and teasing are like a love language almost. If you do something that's silly and people kind of use that as like a way to tease you, that's not necessarily that's not viewed as a negative.
Oh, totally. The Italians do it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, that's just
you beautiful bastard. I love you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that's a cultural thing. That's just different cultures coming together, where Matt's more of a Southern kind of culture because that's how he wrote the Two Rivers, and Tuon is just so many amalgams of different things, but also the fact that she's literal royalty kind of changes things too.
And I guess that's one thing that we should never keep him forget. It's like we're talking about Prince Charles, now King Charles, or someone where they're not normal people. They don't grow up in normal shit. They don't have a normal history. They don't have a normal present. I mean, she's having siblings trying to kill her when she's a toddler.
She had to learn how to fight from the moment she learned how to walk.
I've got a question for Beth. So Beth, when you were younger in your years, when you were single, vibrant out at the bar, if you would have met a guy who not only was really, really good looking, was really built, but made you laugh all the time, you called an idiot, but he always tried to, mess with you, ask you out, but at the same time, surprise the hell out of you every 20 minutes. Oh my God.
Yeah. Saved a homeless man outside from a train.
Is unusually bilingual in a dead language.
Fall in love with someone like that very quickly and be like, whoa, I was just knocked off my feet by this unbelievable person that I just met.
I think one of the things that we just have to do when it comes to a book like a series like The Wheel of Time is two things. Number one, we don't have to have definitive answers for every question, right?
There isn't one.
Number two, we don't necessarily have to relate to the people to have emotional connection with them, right? And I think that's one of the things. Like, none of us can relate to Tuon. None of us. There's things in Tuon's character that we can relate to, but none of us is the de facto leader of an authoritarian, totalitarian society where the rulers are basically the next thing to God, right?
They live forever.
Like,
yes.
you know.
So I mean, it is we have to think about, like, is when you take away the who Tuon is or what Tuon represents societally, or from a nation standpoint, do you like Tuon as a person? Take all of that crap away, but as a person, as an individual, do you like Tuon?
Nope. Nope. I bet you she likes Celine Dion. I bet you she doesn't put her cart back in the cart return when she goes to the grocery store. I bet you she doesn't tip her pizza delivery driver. No, I don't like Tuon.
I don't know about all that.
See, and I do like Tuon as a character,
Tuon.
as a person. I like the fact that Tuon is principled. I like the fact that she is intelligent. I like the fact that she takes no prisoners in regards to standing firm in what she fully believes in. And those are very admirable traits.
She's
Whether or
like
not she's standing firm for the right things is an entirely different thing. But she is principled. She has the best interests of her nation at heart.
Compare her to Elaine, Dan. Compare her to
selfless.
Elaine.
She is selfless. Tuon is selfless. Tuon does everything for the Empire. In her mind. That's my thing. And I'm not talking about whether she's on the right side or the wrong side of it. I'm just talking about her as a person. Also, I also fucking like Celine Dion.
Yeah, that threw me out. I was like, what?
You know what? Celine Dion is a fucking goddess, in my opinion, right now, after everything she went through leading up to the Oscar. I mean, up to the Olympics.
She has one of the strongest, most powerful voices ever to actually sing.
Dan met Celine Dion, and he was like, Miss Dion, Miss Dion, Miss Dion.
No,
and
she punched me right in the jaw.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, maybe you deserved it. Shit, I don't know. Maybe you looked like someone that tried to steal her puppy.
She turned around and she didn't see anything.
I gently touched her elbow, her weenus.
You reached up, touched her weenus, and she punched you.
Belted me with her Dior, like a Louis Vuitton coat.
I mean,
and she hit a high C note too.
One of my friends threw up on Paula Abdul's shoes.
That's fucking hilarious.
Getting off of a roller coaster. Okay, so picture this.
Hold on, I was going to say one more good thing about Tuon. One of the other good things that she does, and we see it a lot throughout the books, is that she's willing, like she takes information in anywhere it comes from if she sees it to be useful or true.
Yes.
She doesn't look down on anybody because of. She doesn't look down on anyone where they come from or who they are.
No, I mean she's deft. She has a deft mind, and like we'll return to this. When she was confronted by Mat about being able to channel herself, she says, "Yeah, but I don't steal and I don't murder. I choose not to, and that's the difference." It was like the whole conundrum, the whole here it comes. This is gonna be the unraveling of the Sean-chan. She's like, nah. Right, and
she lied. She lied to herself to make it okay.
That doesn't mean that she's not going to have a change of heart.
She doesn't give all the Damane the chance to try not to say, okay, I just won't channel then. They all get collared anyway.
It's going to be like the Harriet Tubman of the Damane Underground Railroad.
I love it.
Matt?
I love it. You know what? I'm getting a lot of flack in the chat as far as
for your Celine Dion hate.
But I'd like to see her hit this. Yeah. Take that. Your heart will go on and on and on.
I wonder what kind of
it's circular breathing. That's how I did that.
Omen.
Just so you know.
I wonder what kind of omen Tuon would read in Bella living throughout all of the crap that she lived with, like just a horse running out of the last battle, and like, you know, just living through the whole series and traveling everywhere she traveled. Like if Tuon just happened to be in like two or three of the places that Bella happened to cross, she would be like, "Oh, what does that mean? That that this horse is here again?" Like that's
everything's wrong.
No, because she's stout and a little slow, right? DK Moon. Yeah.
What?
You know what I like to think? I like to think Bella came from Ilion.
Why? She's Two River stock. She's hard. She's
Ilion.
I like to think that Tam Althor pulled Bella out of her mom.
Well,
I think so. On the
snow. Come home with a horse, right?
What, Beth?
We're off topic again. We're off topic again.
She's
off topic again.
The horse reborn. I love that, Ryan.
Think that the Coffins would think of Tuon.
The Coffins.
Well, we know that Abel would tell Mat to let her think she's running things. And I don't know what Natty would think of Tuon, but or the circle.
Well, Tuon is hard to bring home to mom, right? I mean,
but
she
especially if your mom can
has
channel.
a voice. She doesn't even talk. Her voice talks for her.
But aren't they royalty now because of her marriage to Mat? Aren't they?
Yeah, they would be. Yeah, they would be.
Well, you bring up a good point, though. I mean, I don't know how down Abel would be with. He's like, oh, you look a little dusty, and she does a little.
Well,
I feel like it would depend on where they met, like where they met each other. Like if it was Tuon coming to the Two Rivers, I don't think that would end well. But if it was them going to like, you know, somewhere that Tuon and Mat were, I think that would go differently.
Yeah, she would make him take the oaths first before she even talked to him, right?
Well,
she would ask if they did for sure.
The preliminaries.
Because the Death Watch guards would show up in Emmons Field to get them.
And try to get snipers and stuff, yeah.
Would you rather be invaded by Aiel or Shan-Chen?
Shan-Chen.
Shan-Chen.
The Aiel.
The Aiel.
Absolutely the Aiel.
Aiel will capture you.
As soon as they walk
No, they will
right, first of all,
not. They will take the faith and they'll leave you.
They'll take 20% of all your shit.
Yeah, the Aiel will take
Shan-Chen won't do anything.
Except they'll make you swear oaths and they'll subjugate you if you can channel.
The Shan-Chen will kill anyone who doesn't swear their oaths.
I swear oaths every time Apple updates. It's like, do you agree? I'm like, sure.
Yeah. The arbitration you're signing up for at that point.
My PlayStation. Hey, read this. Yeah, you agree? Of course, I agree. Yes, I will await, obey, and serve. Sure. Click.
What you're really asking, though, what it comes down to is, do you want Kath or Usquai? Are you going to miss the coffee or are you going to miss the whiskey? Like, which one do you want to go for?
These are all good points.
Good points. What? ¿Por qué no los dos?
I just don't like running. If I was captured by the Aiel, they would just make me run all over the place.
So wait a minute here, okay?
Okay, here's what I imagine. I imagine I'd be home. I'd try maybe to defend myself because people are coming in my home. They think I'm a soldier. They capture me because I'm super well built.
You're super well built.
I look like a soldier, even though I'm a pacifist.
Absolute specimen.
Ryan does have a cake. I will say that.
So yeah, like, you know, so I imagine I would then have to fucking run for a year. Not my thing.
Run and dig pebbles,
or
looking for like
captured for the rest of your life and used as a house slave,
fetching water
because I'm so sexy. All right, yeah. So if there's a lineup of citizens, I would definitely become a dog.
Right. There would be a bidding war over Ryan.
Just kidding. Jansen would win. He always does.
Yeah, Jansen would win.
All right. I think if you did a closer reading of the text, and everyone, you guys really should try reading this book a little better. Matt and Tuon really love each other. It's all over the place.
This book better, guys.
Like you all you hear about is Matt's opinion of women throughout the entire series, and then he is with Tuon, and his brain is fucking different. He thinks different. He becomes a fucking poet. He wants to see that smile. He wants to memorize her face so that he can picture it when his eyes are closed. That's in a quote. That's the Mat in love.
It's also in a quote when she put her luscious rump on his knee.
Yeah.
Yes. Luscious.
So we got a couple votes. We got calf. We got whiskey. But Beth has something to say. All right, drink.
I mean, no, I really don't. Other than the fact that I need to head out in like 3 minutes.
Me too.
3 minutes. All right.
That was what I had to say. No, I mean, honestly, this is the thing. I don't know that Tuon has the capacity of ever loving Mat more than she loves Shanchan. Or more than she feels like she has the duty to Shanchan. Okay. I think she has affection for Mat because he asks her that after they have their night of fun. He's like, do you love me? And she's like, she kind of puts it off. Like she doesn't, and so
We'll come to
Mat is definitely falling in love with Tuon. But you have to, duty is heavier than a mountain.
Yeah. I mean,
all right.
And Tuon is always going to be married to Shanchan before she's married to Mat.
Yeah, and it's the same thing as Rand. That's why, like, I always say, like, Rand is the one that has to be the dragon. Like, it could be any of the three of them, but when you look at their character flaws and who they are, Rand is the only one capable of doing the things that need to be done as a leader, where Perrin can't do the types of things that at that level of, like, make the good of the world. And it's the same thing. You have to it's a different mindset. You're not able to have the same type of interpersonal relationships with people if you're a leader of a thing like this.
Well, to that point, then let me ask you three before we leave. What would the outriggers? So let's say 3 books, 2,000 pages later. Where is Mat and Tuon? I'm sure they have kids, right?
I don't. So from what we know from what we know of the Outrigger novel that was supposed to be written, it was about Perrin going to the Shanchan and something happening, some sort of conflict between Perrin and Mat and Tuon, with something happening in the Shanchan.
But you actually say the Shanchan.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's from Tom Doherty, the person who started more books.
But isn't there also commentary about Mat having fallen out of favor? Like he's the only time I heard that was in a panel, but that wasn't from like Maria or Harry or Alan. Okay. But I don't know where I heard that from. I don't know where I've like.
Yeah, no, I'm talking like.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
This was an accidental spoiler that Tom Doherty let slip at the first Jordan Con during opening ceremonies.
Here's that quote. Do you love me? He said.
Changed now.
Otherwise,
it's been written out of the Wheel of Time. That's not necessarily that hasn't been really written yet, so we don't know.
Of course, I'm just going off of what we know. Yeah.
She says, an empress does not love. I am sorry. I am with you because the omen stated so, and so with you, I will bring the Shanchan an heir.
Yeah,
and so we gotta have an heir, right? At least an heir.
She's pregnant at the very end. That's the last thing she says to him.
So someone in her position is just not capable of having the same kind of a relationship.
I know, but wait. Why is
Oliver's going to be like a nanny, right? It's going to be like Who's the Boss with Oliver.
Could she not just be in denial? Could she be lying to herself? Because that type of vulnerability is dangerous for her.
No, I don't think so.
There are arranged marriages all the time. I mean,
I think she's being more honest with herself in that moment than at any other point.
All right, we have a poll. The poll is live. Real quick, I just put a poll out. Does Tuon love Mat? Everyone get in there.
Tuon love Mat? I like that question, right?
I think she's very fond of him. I think that she cares about him. I think that she enjoys spending time with him. But I think if it was like she needed to make a decision that on one hand there would be something good for the Empire to happen, but Mat had to die, like she'd had to leave him somewhere
100%.
or allow him, she would just let him die.
Yeah.
All right, so
without
yeah,
a
go
spell.
for it, Dan.
Okay.
Tuon looked at him squatting there by the map, moving his fingers over its surface, and suddenly she saw him in a new light. A buffoon? No. A lion stuffed in a horse stall might look like a peculiar joke, but a lion on a high plains was something very different. Toy was loose on a high plains now. She felt a chill. What sort of man had she entangled herself with? After all this time, she realized she had hardly a clue. And Ryan, this is an interesting correlation because Mat, when he sees her call her Jolene, he sees her as a jaguar.
Jaguar or panther,
yeah, jaguar. And he's like, God damn, jaguars are really awesome. So this hunting metaphor runs concurrent. Beth, you gotta go. All right.
I have a stream in 15 minutes. Sorry.
All right, you want? All right, well, tell us what do you got going on?
So tonight I'm just streaming random stuff, but tomorrow night, I'm a member of the Ubisoft Creator Program, and Ubisoft is coming out with a new Star Wars game called Star Wars Outlaws. And it's coming out on the 30th, but I got an early release copy of it, and the embargo is lifted tomorrow at noon. So I'm going to be streaming it tomorrow night and Wednesday night. So it's an open world RPG. No force powers. No force powers. The main character is a scoundrel. She is a smuggler. And it's going to be super, super fun. I'm super excited.
No force powers.
I'm most excited about her little pet that she gets.
He is so, oh my God, I can't go into detail, but he is so cute. He's amazing.
Yay. That's fun.
He's amazing.
Oh my
anyway,
gosh. Well, yeah, guys, watch Beth tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow and Wednesday.
World premiere, it sounds like.
And then I won't be here next week because I'll be in Washington visiting somebody.
Have a good trip.
Well, I hope everyone appreciates you as much as we do in Washington.
Thanks. Yeah. I hope so too.
It's impossible not to.
Go spread the word.
Look at that face.
Shut up.
All right, Ryan, let's just wrap up, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Everyone, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. This Tuesday, we're continuing Knife of Dreams. Next Sunday, we'll return with more Tavern Talk. Everyone, run for your lives. This is The Way of the Leaf.